Nearly 7 years later, and I still bloody love this phone. So as a phone that I had as my contract device about 6 months after it came out in 2018, I thought I'd stick my SIM card back in the P20 Pro over the last couple of weeks and see how I found it up nearly 7 years later. Now the Huawei P20 Pro was definitely a visual stunner in 2018 when it was first released, and its design still holds up really well in 2024. The glass sandwich design with an aluminium frame gives it a really nice premium design that definitely rivals modern budget phones. And the twilight gradient finish, which shifted between purple and blue hues, still remains an eye-catching feature in 2024, although unfortunately I did only pick up this in the black model. And while current devices have moved forward with more subtle finishes and other designs, the P20 Pro's bold colour scheme still stands out in 2024. And the build quality of the P20 Pro has proved to be very durable, especially for a phone that is now pushing 7 years old. The Gorilla Glass 5 on the back has held up really well, although I have got some minor scratches on this device that I picked up on Amazon as a refurbished model. So of course, if you are looking at picking up a 2024 second-hand model, just be sure to look out for wear and tear. If you can get pictures of the actual device, I definitely recommend doing that. And of course, the phone comes rated with IP67 water and dust resistance, which was cutting edge in 2018. And of course, it's still definitely present in new flagships. It is missing on the majority of budget phones released today. And of course, in 2024, the phone can still handle splashes and light rain and stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily trust to dunk the phone in water completely, just in case some of the seals around the phone are gone, especially in these refurbished models. And one of the standout features of the P20 Pro in 2018 was of course that OLED display. At 6.1 inches with a 1080p resolution, it's good for over 400 pixels per inch. And of course, OLED technology has become the norm for high-end smartphones. The P20 Pro screen still offers punchy colors, deep blacks, and impressive contrast. And when you compare it to a budget phone from 2024, namely the Honor X7B, the P20 Pro's display is still far superior in terms of color reproduction and contrast. And while the refresh rate is capped at just 60 Hz, it doesn't have a 90 or 120 Hz refresh rate, the display is still a stunning one. The OLED tech is still really great on this phone. And brightness levels for outdoor visibility are absolutely fine, although of course newer phones can achieve higher peak brightness, but the P20 Pro is absolutely fine. But of course, this display offers some really great visuals when watching videos on YouTube and Netflix and stuff like that. But of course, it doesn't match the vibrancy of newer flagships. And at the heart of the P20 Pro was Huawei's in-house Kirin 970, which at the time was one of Huawei's more powerful chipsets. And that paired with 6 gigs of RAM in 2018, the Kirin 970 offered flagship grade performance. Of course, it is completely outperformed by new processors of 2024, namely the Snapdragon 8 Elite and Apple's A18 and A18 Pro chips, but the Kirin 970 for me has still been absolutely fine. The Kirin 970 was sufficient for gaming in 2018, but of course in 2024 you'll experience slower load times and occasional frame drops with graphic-intense games like PUBG or Call of Duty Mobile. But casual games should run without any major problems, and it's still absolutely fine as a processor in 2024. The 6 gigs of RAM should be absolutely fine for light multitasking, but of course new flagships come with 8, 12, 16 gigs of RAM, which for people that are constantly switching between apps and keeping them open, the 6 gigs of RAM you might struggle with, but for most people it'll be absolutely fine. And of course, as for software, this is where things do get a little bit complicated. Out of the box, the Huawei P20 Pro shipped with EMUI 8.1 based on Android 8 Oreo. And of course, over the years, Huawei has provided some updates and the devices now run on EMUI 12, although it's based on a much older version of Android due to Huawei's split from Google in 2019. And the lack of Google mobile services is a significant drawback for some users that rely heavily on Google apps such as Gmail, Maps, and the Play Store. And of course, the Huawei P20 Pro was one of the last phones to be running all of Google mobile services, so you shouldn't have any problems with using those apps. But for those that are willing to use alternatives, such as Huawei's App Gallery and third-party app stores, the phone is absolutely functional, but it requires some adaptation. And of course, security patches are pretty few and far between on the P20 Pro. I'm running a May 2022 security patch on this version of the phone. So of course, it's not going to get any more security patches, so that might be a concern for some people who might be looking at this phone. And as for the battery, the P20 Pro comes equipped with a 4000 mAh battery, which of course in 2018 was dubbed one of the highest rated batteries you could get on a smartphone. Of course, that's now overshadowed with most phones offering 5000 mAh plus, but this 4000 mAh battery in my P20 Pro was plenty to get me through a full day of light to moderate use. Of course, intense gamers or anything like that, you're definitely going to be able to kill this in much less than a day. but if you're a light user, this will get you through a full day, no problem. And it comes with 22.5 watt fast charging, which of course isn't the quickest. There's much faster on the market now, but it is enough to get you charged up in, I think it's about an hour, something like that. So yeah, battery life on the P20 Pro is absolutely fine. If you're not a heavy gamer or multitasker or anything like that, yeah, still pretty good. So then lastly, if we just quickly talk about the cameras on the P20 Pro. And the P20 Pro was one of the first phones to feature a triple camera setup, which included a 40 megapixel primary sensor, 20 pixel monochrome sensor, and an 8 megapixel telephoto lens. And at the time, this camera was dubbed one of the best cameras you could find on a smartphone. And even in 2024, the P20 Pro's camera still holds its own in a lot of situations. The 40 megapixel primary camera does capture excellent detail, especially in good lighting conditions, and the monochrome sensor adds depth to black and white photography. And the 8 megapixel telephoto lens offers 3 times optical zoom and 5x hybrid zoom, which is still very respectable today, although it pales in comparison to the 10x optical found on things like the S22 and S23 Ultras, etc. But as usual, here are a few more photo and video samples coming from the P20 Pro. Please do let me know down in the comments what you think. So that's my very quick look at the P20 Pro. Overall, I still think this is a really great phone. Taking me back to when I first got it, I absolutely loved it. Although I did get it in the Twilight model, I still think this is a really great phone, and it's absolutely fine. For those that just want a basic phone that will work and that you can pick up for pretty cheap, you can pick them up for about 100 quid in pretty great condition. But do let me know down in the comments what you think of this P20 Pro and if you'd consider buying one going into 2025, and I'll see you in the next video.